Jyglesias and I am doing my internship for BUS340 Summer Class A. I am working on my business management and healthcare administration degree, and I've decided to do my internship at Ohioans Home Healthcare. I started my internship for Ohioans Home Healthcare on May 22nd, 2017. Ohioans' mission statement, Ohioans Home Healthcare, is committed to providing excellence in everything we do. Our mission is to help individuals lead healthier, more independent lives by providing the highest standard of care. We strive to respectfully and compassionately meet the needs of our patients and their families by listening, planning, educating, and delivering the highest standard of individualized care. Ohioans Home Healthcare was founded in 2007. However, in May 2011, the current management team was developed to make the organization what it is today. With over 25 years of combined industry experience, the vision of the company has always remained the same: to provide outstanding quality care and customer service for their clients within the comfort of their own homes. Since the inception of the company, it has grown 4 additional branch locations with the ability to service 44 counties throughout Ohio and Michigan. The company offers physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech-language pathologist, medical social worker, pediatric home health, orthopedic care, and also skilled nursing. What I worked on in my internship was learning all different aspects of the company. I attended nurses' meetings, which are an hour long usually. I listened to the presentation and learned the reasons for some of the nurses' issues with their paperwork that will need to be recorrected and re-advised, and figure out if the office staff is any way can change some of the policies on the nurses' paperwork just to help it make a little more bearable. After the meeting, I would receive several papers from the home health aides, nurses, and therapists to review and try to find common mistakes. I needed to put together a list to figure out what the next nurses' meetings needs were to go over and what needed to be fixed on the office staff's end for the nurses' meetings afterwards. I had to prepare the handout packets for the nurses and aides and therapists. I put the papers in order, I printed them out, and then I stapled them, handed them out to the nurses. I did payroll. I learned how to access different links in our main system called DeVero. I browsed the system to become familiar. I then went into the aide progress notes and checked for any mistakes. When I would find a mistake, I would make a note in the aide progress note and send back to the aide to review the seemingly mistakes and fix and return back to me. I also did physician orders on physical therapy and occupational therapy and other services for Ohioans, looking for signatures on the orders. I accessed our site and searched each patient name and date, and then found the orders and reported whether they were signed or not. I threw away the signed orders and made sure that all of the unsigned orders were scanned into the patient's files. I called several doctors' offices for missing signatures on physician orders throughout my internship. This was what I did the most work on. I would go into my files and recontact all of the physicians that did not refax me the orders from the previous week. Many of the offices were telling me they never received my faxes, so once again I would have to refax the orders. I would have to repeat this until all orders were signed and could be billed for. I called several doctors' offices for missing signatures on physician orders that were over a month old up to 6 months old. I went into DeVero, which is our company's filing system, and searched the patient, find the chart, and go to the physician orders. I would then find the doctor's information and call his office, requesting they send the signed copies back to me. Each phone call would be different, and I would run into several issues. I found out that our records had a lot of wrong fax numbers. Sometimes the wrong doctor is listed on the order. Sometimes it would be the phone number was wrong. So I'd have to update the patient's charts with the correct information, including all of the physician's information, phone, fax numbers, addresses, and change them in our system so they were correct for the next time. I had to research what the orders meant to explain in detail what I was calling for. A lot of orders are written in medical terms, and I did not know what I was asking for. So I could follow up in more detail to Dayton and Cincinnati area to establish accounts for multiple different nurses to drop off labs. I searched online for hospitals in the area and then called all of the hospitals to speak with the labs department manager. I then asked to set up an account with the hospital and Ohioans Home Health Care and report all the information to do so. I also tracked nurses, aides, and therapists attending mandatory meetings for every month and reported whether they showed up or didn't. I accessed a spreadsheet to report my findings. I went through all of the sign-in sheets and marked which nurses, aides, and therapists came to which meetings for the month. After I was finished, I then would call more doctors' offices looking for unsigned physician orders and track down the orders that were not going through. I also read and then compared the outdated and updated CHAP manual. That is the manual that the company has to ensure the correct policies of home health care being used. I will go into a little more detail on this later. I shadowed the intake department, met with accounting, and turned in denials. Sent faxes throughout the day. I did accounts payable, non-medical invoices where I had to scan and email into the computer and then organize the files with the name and then send the files out to the accounting where they could easily access the information in order. I was placed with another project. I worked on an emergency preparedness packet. I searched the internet for each of the county's emergency management agencies and associations. I then recorded the information. Next, I made phone calls asking for a copy of the Community Risk and Preparation Assessment. I also asked if there were any preparation drills that Ohioans could attend for extra knowledge and preparation. I recorded everything I was told and constantly checked my email for the Community Risk and Preparation Assessment form and any other information they sent me through my internship. I would read the files and forward the important information on to another coworker overseeing the project. I researched every county that Ohioans serves and recorded every police station, fire station, poison control, child protective services, adult protective services, and other needed emergency buildings, contact information, and addresses, and would organize in Word. I went on to 2 seminars for the Emergency Preparedness Project that I worked on. I went and listened to both of the meetings and took notes, and then I came back to the office and made an organized report on what I had learned and presented my findings to 3 of my other supervisors that were working on the project with me. For my first day, I learned a lot in my orientation. The orientation was with a group of 5 other people. All the other people I had orientation with were nurses or aides for the company. The orientation was on all the information on the company and our job descriptions as a whole. At first, I did not think that the information was necessary for me to be oriented on, but later to find out that I realized the purpose for it. I learned all aspects of the company and everything the company offers to all of its employees and customers. I learned that there are many aspects of running a home care agency. As an office worker, I will be checking the aides and nurses and therapists' paperwork to make sure they are correct for insurance billing. Since I did more orientation with nurses and aides, I know what their job duties are and what needs to be recorded on their visit sheets. So for my first day, I learned about the company and how it works and what they offer. For my second day, I was told that I would work on several projects during my internship. I was asked what I wanted to learn, and I answered that I wanted to learn all the jobs that I possibly could. So I was a floater and learned many different jobs in between my projects. I was given my first project to check for errors and update the Community Health Accreditation Program, also known as the CHAP policy, to ensure the company and the employees are following the correct policies. CHAP renews the manuals yearly. However, the company had not updated in a while and was using a very outdated manual. I continued to work on the CHAP manual. I learned more in depth on the correct paperwork and what is considered an unbillable error and the purposes for the changes. The reason behind revising the CHAP manual is because for the last 20 years, the aid services have remained the same, and finally, the new laws have been passed to change the outdated policies of caregiving. The Medicare Administration contractor shall analyze claims to determine provider compliance with Medicare coverage, coding, to take appropriate corrective actions when providers are found to be non-compliant. The goal of MAC administrative actions is to correct the behavior and need of change and prevent future losses to the Medicare trust funds through targeted claims review while using resources efficiently and treating providers and beneficiaries fairly. For example, the aides in the company are only supposed to do personal care. The aides that work for Ohioans are not allowed to do laundry, prepare, or cook foods, handle bills or other personal information. And they do not do household chores such as vacuuming, dishes, dusting, sweeping, or even mopping. If an aide reported that she did any of these daily activities, then the note will be considered inaccurate and the visit will not be covered by the patient's insurances. Even if there was personal care involved, nothing else can be recorded. There are a lot of fine details that I am now learning that are very important for the company to stress to the employees on the correct procedures. I have also learned that for the 8 employees, there is a minimum 38-minute visit. Anything less than 38 minutes is considered an unbillable note. For repeated infractions, MACs have the discretion to initiate progressively more severe administration action corresponding with the seriousness of the identified problem. MACs shall deal with serious problems using the most substantial administrative actions available, such as a 100% repayment review of claims. The Medicare Fee-for-Service Recovery Audit Program is a legislatively mandated program that utilizes recovery auditors to identify improper payments paid by Medicare to fee-for-service providers. The recovery auditors are the proper payments, and the MACs adjust the claims, recoup identified overpayments, and return underpayments. I learned this through the CHAP manual, but this is part of what I will be looking for once I finish updating the policies manual. I will investigate the claim and associated documentation and perform appropriate research regarding the liability, benefit categories, statutory requirements, and so forth. I also can determine if a payment error exists and what the nature of the error is. I learned that I will notify the beneficiaries and provider or suppliers and start the payment reconciliation process. If I cannot justify any of these means, then the insurance companies will not cover the bills. I went over the policy handbook for about 2 weeks, and when I finished, I presented the differences I found and announced the new and updated policies to the employees. Next, I learned about the policies and infectious disease control, such as the correct techniques on washing hands and wearing protective gear, the proper care techniques that are billable and non-billable, and what information new patients need to receive for start and end of care, and why the correct paperwork matters. There were several instances that I came across where the paperwork was not done correctly by staff and was not a billable note. When this would happen, the company does not get paid by the corresponding insurances and has to eat the cost. It is very interesting to learn how little of a mistake can be made that makes a huge difference. I learned the policies of every different aspect of the company inside and outside of the office and in the patients' homes. For my 3rd week with my internship at Ohioans, I started working on invoices. I worked on several invoices and taught how to enter the Ohioans General Shares application. I got familiar with the program and then began with the accounts payable non-medical invoices. I learned how to search through all of the invoices to ensure that a duplicate payment would not be sent. I learned how to deal with the application and to search for the company's payments and override the invoices that were already paid. When I could come across invoices unpaid, then I would have to take note of them and circle the amount owed. Next, I would have to scan and email the unpaid invoices to my current supervisor. Lastly, she would go over my findings and write a check, and then I would send them over and file them in a complete folder for the future references. I was also lucky enough to shadow a few women from the intake department. I examined how their operations work. I learned that intake watches for patients who go in the hospital or rehabilitation facilities and when they come home. Then intake calls the clients to make sure they are returning to the same addresses and if they possibly have changed phone numbers and such. Intake makes sure the client's information is up to date and they send out the open referrals to the nurses. The work seemed to be fairly simple, but it was the busiest job I've seen. The phones and emails were continuous. For my learning experience, what I have learned about the type of supervision that I observed is that there are many different types of leaders. I believe that my supervisor is a great mentor and is willing to help. At first, I was given a project to work on. It seemed like a task that was almost too simple. After a couple of days, I became more familiar with the Community Health Accreditation Partners, also known as the CHAP manual that I spoke of earlier, and began to ask questions. My supervisor then explained the importance of the simple task that I was working on. I then realized how important the basic rules are to completely know and understand. Since then, my supervisor has realized my desire to learn everything I can and has been an open book for me. She said that she will have different tasks for me to conquer throughout my internship, which I have done. I also observed that the Chief Executive Officer is usually always around. He comes into work every day and tries to make conversation with all the employees. The CEO said that he wants his company to remain a family-owned business and wants all of his employees and clients to feel like they are family too. I learned that how you treat your employees can affect your company in negative and positive ways. Their supervision helps in a positive light and shows why the company is becoming one of the top best. I feel as if my supervisor is a great mentor and has been really helpful and surely does teach me in great detail. What was beneficial for me with the type of supervision I received is that I am learning what true leadership looks like and realizing that even the best has their tough days too. Good supervision is to maintain a good, healthy workplace and ensure employees are doing a good job while staying happy and feeling valued and appreciated by the company, and my supervisors definitely make me feel valued. I feel as if I will be a great leader from this experience, and I believe that I still have so much to learn, but by choosing the company I did will give me a little extra step up. Even though there may be some flaws throughout the different positions, I definitely would not change anything with the company thus far. I have been treated very well as an intern. I think my status has people more willing to help me. Everyone was very nice to me in the office. All of the staff seem very friendly. I'm having the perfect internship experience. I think that there are many people that may take note that the work as serious as some, but the workplace is a laid-back workplace, which I believe makes people want to do better because they're not as stressed out. I feel as if my internship was pretty laid back. However, I do feel a higher pressure to succeed and show the company that although I am an intern, I still want to do my best for the company. For Ohioans' mission statement, I believe the mission statement fits very well into my personal goals and values. I agree with every word in the mission statement, and I do my best to maintain what it states. I try to help anyone that I can possibly help, and of course in the best of ways. I believe every client should receive the highest standard of care through every healthcare agency. To respectfully and compassionately meet the needs of our patients should be a given, but also give the same to the patients' families is not as acknowledged as it should be through other home care agencies. Ohioans does indeed help the clients and their families by listening to both and planning together while maintaining compassionate respect and understanding that the company, the family members, and the client are a team. The mission statement holds my personal goals and values because you should have the best interest for your corporation while having morality for yourself and others. Morality is principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong or good and bad. It is a particular system of values and principles of conduct, especially one held by a specified person or society. When working for a business, we should simply resolve not to lie, cheat, or steal, and then begin to look after the interest of the firm that has hired us to do exactly that to the very best of our abilities. I believe a lot of people believe in the saying, what goes around comes around, including myself. Unfortunately, that is not a satisfactory solution for most of the people. However, beyond as the reason for our moral actions towards one another should be our concern for the quality of our own lives. Meaning, do not focus on just the needs of the corporations and others, but have duties and responsibilities to self to reach a balance, and I absolutely live by this. The first basic argument is that trust of this nature requires recognition of moral responsibility, possessions of moral character, of courage, and the application of moral reasoning. Moral responsibility is recognizing the moral problems by comprehending how people may feel or react to certain managerial actions. The next is moral character, which is the courage to recognize a moral problem and create a solution for it. We have moral reasoning, which is the process of examining and resolving the moral problems in a way that others will be comfortable with. Lastly, the mission statement is the means of combining duties that the firm holds towards others with the goal for itself, creating standards you should want to follow. Morality is important to have the corporation to be successful and a happy place for workers to grow. Without a business mission for the heart, the moral values can be tainted. Morality should be the basis of all of our corporations and our own lives, and that is why Ohioans' mission statement is respected by me and fits well into my personal life. There is no conflict whatsoever. The company was voted top workplace for the last 3 years, warm and inviting. I am very excited to be working with Ohioans and learning the ins and outs, and I hope to continue my learning experience with them. My experience with Ohioans home health care was great. The people were very warm, accepting, helpful, and full of learning. I learned how to be a good leader, to learn how to deal with customers and even employee complaints, how to deal with the insurances, and how to deal with the paperwork. I would absolutely recommend my experience to anyone seeking to work the medical industry. I had an awesome opportunity, and I was very blessed to be able to work with Ohioans home health care, and I'm grateful for everything they gave me and taught me, and I hope that I can continue it. Thank you for listening and watching my video.